All right. I use data to find the closest player to Stephen Curry in the entire NBA.
Quick,
Now,
off the top of your head, of all the active
I'm
players currently
curious.
in the NBA, who reminds you most of Steph Curry? I'm sure some of the names that come to mind are Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant if he was 9 inches shorter.
Honestly,
Try all you want, but the
I don't think nobody is like Steph. Trae Young is probably, I guess, the closest thing. Maybe, because height. LaMelo Ball, maybe, but he like 6'7" or some crazy shit. But probably Trae Young.
overwhelming and correct answer is no one. Even as the catalyst to one of the biggest evolutions in basketball history, there is still nobody that is quite like Steph in the NBA today.
But yeah,
or
he
ever,
ain't just
for that
like
matter.
Steph, nah.
The greatest shooter of all time by a country
Nah, he
mile,
him.
as devastating off the ball as he is with it. The skills to carve up defenses and score from anywhere, despite being a relatively undersized, unathletic guard. By now, nearly a decade after the long ball took over the NBA, it was assumed that Steph's influence would spawn an entire generation of copycats. And although the game has changed, there's still no one that plays it the way he does.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can try to mimic it, but you gonna have to be a bad motherfucker, straight up.
Aimlessly browsing through some stats not too long ago, it came to my attention that a 37-year-old Steph Curry once again led the NBA in three-point shooting last season, for the 10th time in his career. The league is still trying to catch up to where Steph has been for the last 10 years. And with each passing season, the reality becoming more painfully obvious that Steph isn't a product of the league's evolution. The league's evolution is a product of
I forgot
him.
that nigga played with Chris
As long
Paul.
as Steph can do things that no one else can do, it may be a while before we find a worthy successor.
What was that, a few
But
years
why
ago?
is that? In fact, with a game that has become the blueprint for modern day guards, why has there not been a single player in the NBA who plays like him or can do the things he can do? This series of questions led me down a long and exhausting rabbit hole of what I believe to be the most extensive look into this topic. Who is the most similar player in the NBA today to Steph Curry?
I'm curious. I can't lie. We as we know, we watched the last one with LeBron, who's the most similar player to LeBron. If you haven't seen that, I won't spoil it. It's on the channel. Go watch it. His name starts with a J though, and he's active today. He's actually somebody that probably was in the
Today's video is
that we
sponsored
seen
by
already in
DraftKings.
this video.
It's that time of year, my friends. The NFL is back. A new season with all new action for you to get in on with Draft, only on DraftKings Sportsbook.
W ad for that nigga, but I'm skipping.
How can you accurately compare anyone to one of the most unique players in basketball?
Curry puts up a three.
Dang.
When put to the task of finding the most similar player to Steph Curry, the first instinct would be maybe a long-range sharpshooter. But these comps never quite work. The best three-point shooters in recent history are far too one-dimensional on offense to be compared to Steph. Look for perimeter players that can generate offense like Steph, and you'll find a lot of freak athletes, ISO-heavy guards, and players who aren't willing
Jamal
to run to
Murray,
hell and back
nice.
like he does every other possession to get a bucket. This 2020 Bleacher Report article cited Mark Price, Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and Jerry West as the most comparable players to Steph. All of them
I don't know
solid
about that
comps
one.
if they hadn't retired decades ago. CraftedNBA.com has a great tool called
Hey.
Doppelgangers, which uses
Like Steph, Steve, Nash. I don't. Steve Nash was nice, Hall of Famer, of course, but like, I don't think he played like Steph though. From what I
an
remember,
extensive batch of metrics to find similar players throughout the NBA. But this tool specifically looks at the
Steph
results of a
Curry
player.
literally is he changed the league. One, two, he is the main offensive guy as the point guard. Point guards are usually like Steve Nash was you feel me? He'll facilitate the offense, get niggas open. Steph Curry, niggas is setting 6 screens for Steph Curry to shoot the ball, and he's the point guard, nigga. Like he is him. He's the guy on the team. Steve Nash was, to my knowledge, was never the guy.
player's game without including the method in which they got those results, which is an important distinction. For example, Steph and LeBron both averaged the same amount of points last season, but the way they scored those points were wildly different. In our experiment, the method is just as important as the results. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And after countless hours of research, metric-based analysis, and data crunching in an attempt to answer this question, I think I've got it. An almost definitive conclusion on the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today.
I got it.
And the
I
answer
can't wait to find
may surprise you.
See,
First,
I
had to reduce the entire league down to players who had even an ounce
I'm finna beat my shit to this knowledge, nigga.
of resemblance to Steph and his game. Floor generals, undersized guards,
I'm excited.
sharpshooters,
I love
off-ball
basketball, my
merchants,
bad.
great scorers, crafty perimeter players, players who love the three ball, and because, why not, his own brother. Eventually, I was able to narrow the list of players included in this experiment to about 75. Of those 75 players, here are the ones that eventually scored the highest in similarity to Steph.
Jordan, Jordan Poole should have stayed with the Warriors. I mean, he's hooping, but like, man, I feel like they low key if they had Jordan Poole with Jimmy Butler and like that whole, I feel like they could have really did like be like up there if they had Jordan Poole. Even without Klay Thompson, I feel like they could really like make a good run.
Exactly did I quantify similarity
if they got
this
like
process?
Jordan Poole
Well,
and like
first
a
I had to
pretty
determine
good
the
big man
metrics
off the
in
bench
which
or
I wanted
something.
to measure. And here are those metrics: gravity, usage and creation, shot selection, portability, passing,
or even
defense,
Poole started.
athleticism,
Poole, I
dominance,
fuck with
shooting
Poole.
ability, and play style. 10 isolated metrics that factor in each and every aspect of Steph's game. Finding the similarities between him and any other player was the easy part. For example, take passing, which can be measured fairly accurately with passer rating, a metric that measures how frequent, effective, and efficient a player passes the ball. Steph's career passer rating is 6.9. That's pretty good. Jalen Brunson has a passer rating of 7.13. That's even better. Klay Thompson has a passer rating of 3.48. And that's not so good. To quantify just how similar these two players are to Steph in terms of passing, we just need to figure out how much their passer rating deviates from Steph's. In this case, Jalen Brunson's passer rating only deviates by 3.2%, while Klay Thompson's passer rating deviates by 49.5%. This would give Brunson a passing similarity score of 96.8% and Klay Thompson a similarity score of 50.5%. By using this method of measurement, I calculated the similarity score of every player in our experiment across all 10 previously mentioned categories, then I tallied up their score to find the most similar player to Steph. The player with the highest score after evaluating all 10 categories is of course the player who shares the most in common with him. So now you know the method, let's see the results. Now the first factor we're going to be taking a look at is Steph's most valuable skill: his shooting ability. In a game where deciding who is the best at anything can be a tall task, Steph has completely removed any room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time. A skill set so valuable that he altered the course of basketball with it.
You know, it's crazy.
That we can measure.
I understood this at a young age before. Like, I understood like scoring the ball is what matters. Before, when I was young, all I wanted to do was shoot. I didn't want to lay up. I didn't really want to dribble. I just wanted to shoot the fucking ball. Of course, that's not basketball, but at the end of the day, if you can put, if you are, let's say you was a nigga that could only shoot the ball, but you shot 90% from the field no matter what, you would go to the NBA. You could be like, if you dribble like a fucking fourth grader, nigga, but you could shoot the ball, you could catch that bitch and shoot it from basically anywhere past the half, you could have a career in the NBA. I truly believe that. As long as you can get the shot off and not get blocked. If you can get your shot off and you shoot like 90%, you can make it to the league. So at the end of the day, this is putting that ball in the basket is what matters, nigga. And that's what Steph does.
And crafted NBA shooting quality metric.
He could do it all, of course.
That combines shooting percentages with spacing and shot value to find what they describe to be the most accurate shooters in the league on a scale from 1 to 100. For some perspective, no player in NBA history has ever scored a perfect 100 out of 100 in shooting quality for an entire season, except for Steph, who's done it 4 times. But throughout his career, Steph has maintained an average shooting quality
Look at this
of
thing.
94.6. And the most similar player to him in the NBA today in terms of shooting ability is none other than his former Splash Bro, Klay Thompson, who has a career average shooting quality of 85.7 and a similarity score of 90.6%.
Man, that's when you think about it,
Desmond.
that's kind of crazy. The fact that these niggas was on the same team at one point for many years, and Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, and the second player who's closest to his rating is Klay fucking Thompson. Of course, maybe it goes hand in hand because they was on the same team. I don't know, but that's kind of crazy.
Bane, Peyton Pritchard, Buddy Hield, and Seth Curry.
And Buddy Hield.
Although I will only be displaying the results of 20 to 30 players per category, each individual score is being factored in and will be revealed at the end. But just as important as Steph's ability
I
to shoot the
want to
ball
see
is where he's shooting the
I want
ball.
to see
10 years
Steph
ago,
and his brother play on the same team before they were.
there were
for them
3
niggas
players
retired.
in the entire league who averaged at least 20 points per game with a 3-point attempt
Steph
rate
and
of at
Steph
least
would low-key
40%.
be fire to
Volume
see.
scores off of volume threes. A shot diet that was essentially prohibited unless you were an absolute flamethrower. But thanks to Steph, times have changed. Because last season, there were 24 players around the league who averaged at least 20 a game while attempting at least 40% of all of their shots from beyond the arc. Steph laying out the roadmap for modern day shooters, with about 15% of his shots consisting of layups, 21% of his shots in the mid-range, and over half of all his shots throughout his career being three-pointers.
This was me. This would be me. Even now, I still be pulling that bitch. I've changed though. I've been trying to work on my put. I ain't hooped in a minute, but I've been. It's crazy now that I think about it, like, cause most niggas shoot threes now, like that's the thing. But now I've been trying to work on my pull up mid ranges on my SGA shit. You feel me?
And the most similar player to Steph in the NBA today in terms of shot selection is Tyrese Halliburton, with shooting tendencies that virtually mirror Steph's and a similarity score of 94%, followed by Anthony Simons, Jordan Poole, and Patty Mills. One thing I want to point out here is just how many young players compare well
Patty
to
Mills
Steph in
the
this
league?
category. Guys who watch Steph at a young age and
I thought
have
that nigga
skill sets
retired.
that were more than likely influenced by
Shout out
Steph,
Patty Mills.
which brings up the next category and one of the most indicative measures of similarity from player to player. And that is play style, what role they play on offense, where they find the most value while they're on the court, and their habits both on and off the ball. Now, quantifying a player's play style is tough to do. What do you measure, and how do you measure it? Well, on craftednba.com, within each player's profile, there is a breakdown of their usage by play type. These plays range from ISO possessions, pick and roll as the ball handler and the roll man, the post, off-ball cuts, handoffs, screens, and spot up. These 8 play types are essentially the 8 major different roles a player can play on any given possession, and we can use them to get some insight into the habits, strengths, and weaknesses of each individual player. In the case of Steph, the 4 most revealing characteristics of his offensive game are ISO possessions, spot-up shooting, possessions coming off of screens, and pick and rolls as the ball handler. Now, if we take these 4 play types and search for the player with the most similar usage across all 4, then the player that has the most similar play style to Steph
I was thinking
is
Kyrie,
Devin Booker,
but
who
nah.
has eerily similar usage to
Devin
Steph
Booker?
across these 4 play types and easily the highest similarity score in this category.
Let's see. Let's look for a second. CJ McCollum, number 3. Emmanuel Quickly, really. Devin Booker, I can see that. My dog Colin Sexton, I see him. Austin Reeves. Okay, all right. Interesting.
Of 84.8%, despite not necessarily being a player you would associate with playing like Steph. The next most similar players are Emmanuel Quickly, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson, and Cam Thomas. For the most part, quick movement shooters who play below the rim.
I can see Jordan Clarkson
actions as opposed to isolation. Play styles that
he
are
ain't as smooth as Curry,
our next category,
but he definitely
athleticism. Unlike many of the top guards from his era, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook,
Damn,
John Wall,
D-Rose.
Steph's lack of world-class explosiveness has kept his game, for the most part, on the ground and away from the basket. According to B-Spark, a metric that uses results from athletic tests such as the ones included in the NBA Combine to determine a player's speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness, Steph ranks in the 28th percentile in terms of athleticism in the NBA, or at least he was at the time he was drafted. And in terms of athleticism, the most similar players to Steph in the NBA today are D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Poole, with nearly identical B-Spark ratings to Steph's and similarity scores of 99.9%.
Really?
Followed by Peyton
I feel
Pritchard,
like
Luka Doncic.
I could be wrong, but isn't Jordan Poole pretty like athletic? I ain't saying he running down the court windmilling on niggas, but I feel like Jordan Poole is decently
And Cade
like
Cunningham.
he can throw that bitch down. He pretty quick. You feel me? Maybe I'm tripping.
Now, our next category has been one of the more underrated aspects of Steph's game throughout his career, and that is his defense. Where his athleticism and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ, quick hands, and adding over 20 pounds to his frame throughout his career. In fact, according to Crafted Defensive Plus Minus, an all-in-one advanced metric that measures how valuable a player is on defense, Steph is actually a net positive on the defensive end. Now, where Steph does struggle a bit is his defensive versatility, a target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players, especially as the league continues to get bigger around the perimeter. Take these two metrics, Crafted Defensive Plus Minus and defensive versatility, and we can find out how valuable Steph is on defense and which player is most similar to him in this aspect, which in this case is Donovan Mitchell, with a similarity score of 96% on defense, followed by Kyrie Irving, Austin Reeves, and DeJounte Murray. But whatever Steph doesn't do on the defensive end, he makes up for tenfold as arguably the most valuable offensive player in the history of the league. With his usage and creation, Steph has spent his career as one of the largest offensive generators in the league, both carrying offenses and playing within the offense. And to measure this, we can use three different metrics: box creation estimate, offensive load, and usage percentage.
I don't think niggas understand how good Steph Curry really is. Like, now that I'm really thinking about it, like the teams he had and how much he had to carry on his back. Of course, he did have some. You feel me? When he got like Kevin Durant, he had Klay Thompson. You feel me? Like that was fucking cheesecake, nigga. For him, him himself on the team, cheesecake. But the fact that he's 6'2" in a league that averages like the average height is probably like 6'6", 6'5", and he's not the most athletic. But the way that he's carried niggas to championships, not just wins, championships, is like, I feel like it's overlooked. Like, niggas don't understand. I know motherfuckers talk about like LeBron this, LeBron, but Steph Curry needs his respect. No bullshit. For him to be doing the shit that he's done for his height and size, and to be like he's changed the game. He's the Michael Jordan of the. Yeah, Michael Jordan came in. I don't think we probably never seen niggas like a change in basketball since like Michael Jordan came in and like changed how niggas play. And even I feel like Steph Curry honestly probably had a bigger influence on how niggas play than Michael Jordan. And I'm gonna say this because Michael Jordan is, you can't duplicate Michael Jordan play style unless you athletic. You feel me? You got the ball, the skill. Steph Curry, you can mimic. You can at least attempt to mimic his style of play, because he's 6'2". He's not athletic. Everything he do, like Jimmy said, is on the floor. So niggas can practice their handles. Niggas can practice their shots. So you can try to mimic his style of play. And most niggas ain't 6'2". Most niggas is under 6 foot. You feel me? So it's like most niggas gonna try to mimic what they can. And he's one of the greatest to do it. So most niggas gonna try to mimic him. So he's changed. Even like big man to change the way they play off because of Steph Curry. You feel me? Niggas to shoot fucking 7-11 Wembanyama is cooking niggas, running down the court, shooting a half court shot on Nick, and Nick, like, you feel me? That's Steph Curry influence. No bullshit.
The player most similar to Steph will undoubtedly have to be an ultra offensive engine who can create opportunities not just for himself, but for his team. So it should be no surprise that when it comes to usage and creation, it is James Harden who is most similar to Steph in the NBA today, with a similarity score of 98.9% and career metrics that are virtually identical.
I see it says James Harden. James Harden was him for a minute. He's still nice, but he was, boy, that nigga was something. Dame, you already know. LaMelo, I said LaMelo earlier. He just, a lot taller than nigga. Ja Morant. Interesting. Cade Cunningham. Alright. Interesting.
To Steph's across the board. The next most similar players are Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Pair Steph's ability to create offense with his shooting, and you have a recipe for his game-breaking quality as a player. His gravity. It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. When Steph is on the court, he is a threat from anywhere at any time, disrupting defenses with and without the ball and forcing them to get sucked into his every movement. Hence the term gravity. Or as B-Ball Index describes it, how much attention and resources a team uses trying to defend a player while on and off the ball. You can see it in action every time you watch him play, as defensive schemes completely fall apart trying to track him around the court, send double teams when he's 30 feet out, and at times completely neglect other players altogether when the Warriors are running options for Steph. It's easy to see, but tough to measure. However, B-Ball Index makes an attempt at quantifying a player's gravity by using a few different metrics like double team rate, shot location, team shot quality, and tracking data with their on-ball and off-ball gravity metrics. Stats that are rated according to percentile relative to the rest of the league, and where Steph has career averages in the 95th percentile in on-ball gravity and nearly the 100th percentile in off-ball gravity, making him not only one of the most lethal on-ball offensive threats in the league, but by far the most valuable off-ball threat in the league throughout his career. And among the players we are evaluating, the one with the most similar gravity to Steph is Damian Lillard, with a similarity score.
I'm saying, you gotta really listen to what he's saying. This isn't no freak of nature. This is like Steph Curry, it's like 6'2", you feel me? He's still above, like, you know, but this nigga is like, he's not no freak of nature. He's not 6'6", 6'7", 250, 6'11", fucking Kevin Durant. He's just a 6'2" nigga, but he's one of the most, like, stay on this nigga by any means necessary ever in NBA history type shit.
Of 95.8%.
Gotta know what he on the floor.
By Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, Cade Cunningham, and Devin Booker. But gravity holds a lot less weight if you aren't a great passer. As the defense collapses, how well can you find opportunities that open up? And despite not playing the traditional point guard role throughout his career, Steph is an excellent passer, particularly in transition, in the pick and roll, and out of double teams. Of course, a good metric to evaluate passing skill is passer rating. This metric, similar to a few others, is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible rating. Now, throughout his career, Steph has had a passer rating of 6.9, and the player most similar to him in this metric is Dennis Schroeder, who has a career passer rating of 6.9.
It's crazy because he just played with this nigga too. I'm gonna also say this though, as far as passing goes, it's 6.9. I feel like it could be higher, but also he's had great teammates, but at the same time, he's had times where he didn't have the greatest of teammates. So I feel like that could low-key affect his score. But you know, 6.9 ain't bad. But Dennis Schroeder, okay.
3, and a similarity score of 99.5%. The next most similar players are DeJounte Murray, Alex Caruso, Brandon Podziemski, and Damian Lillard. In this category, it's not the floor generals, but rather combo guards.
I've been seeing Damian Lillard name a lot.
Add all of these traits up, and you'll find why Steph is not just one of the most lethal offensive weapons of all time, but also one of the most portable. Steph has the skill set to thrive in any system around any players. It's one of the reasons why the Warriors have continued to find success throughout his career, despite featuring an array of different players over time. Steph's value is virtually independent of his situation, and there's actually a metric that makes an attempt to measure this adaptability called portability.
And you know what?
Collects data.
I think that's kind of what I was saying before. His adaptability. Because I was saying like how good he I don't think niggas understand how good he really is, because the way he can adapt and still play his game no matter what, and really carry a team no matter. And like I said, he's not a freak of nature. I know niggas are gonna be like, well, LeBron did something similar. LeBron is fucking 6'8", damn niggas a fucking tank. Steph Curry isn't. He's 6'2". He's strong as hell. Like he's still. Don't get me wrong. He 200 something, but he's not no. You feel me? He's not no freak of nature like LeBron was or is. He's just like, you feel me? He's just that good though, that he can still have that much of an impact on the team. It's crazy.
rating, shooting ability,
And he's been with Golden State, I think, his whole career, right?
ball dominance and usage, as well as defensive versatility, and calculates how portable a player is within any given system. In other words, how well would a player fit if you dropped him into a team with 14 random players? This metric also being on a scale from 1 to 10. Steph has a career portability rating of 9.18, one of the highest in NBA history.
I think he could go to any
Similar
team
player
and
to
be good.
Steph in this regard is Mike Conley, who has
Really?
the same
Mike
exact
Conley?
career portability rating as Steph with 9.18. 100% similarity, followed
I actually fuck with Mike Conley. I guess I can see Mike Conley going to pretty much any team and adding some value. I can see it. Let's see. Desmond Bain. I would feel like it would be mostly point guards and shooting guards. Of course, there's some big man like Jokic. He can go any team and, you feel me, be good. I feel like Chris Paul, low key. I'm surprised he's not higher. I feel like Chris Paul, one of them niggas that could do that. Okay.
by Desmond Bain,
Mike
Tyrese
Tom.
Halliburton, and Jalen Williams. Which brings up our last and most polarizing category, dominance. How good at basketball Steph is. A player can shoot like Steph, move the ball like Steph, play the same position as him, but if they aren't dominating games like him, how similar to Steph Curry can they possibly be? And to measure dominance, instead of looking at accolades or accomplishments, we are going to look at purely how great they have been in their time in the NBA through the lens of an advanced metric, crafted plus minus. Now, this metric is an aggregate of 10 other advanced metrics. It's essentially an all-in-one of all the all-in-ones. It's just what we're looking for. And Steph's career crafted plus minus is 6.45, the 8th highest in NBA history. The closest player to Steph within our player pool in terms of dominance is Chris Paul, with a career crafted plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score of 98%, followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic.
I've seen James Harden name a lot too. I feel like it's gonna come down to either like James Harden or maybe Dame.
Crafted plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score of 98%, followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic. And with that, we have now assessed all 55 players across all 10 categories. A process of research and number crunching.
Other than I think one or two spots was number one, but he's been like top 5 in damn near every single category, I think.
Longer than I'm willing to admit, but it was all worth it. Because in a league where Steph
remains
a unicorn, I think with very high accuracy, I
have narrowed
the search for the most Steph-like player down to one. After scanning a field of 75 potential matches across 10 different categories and dozens of metrics, the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today is Damian Lillard.
That's what I said, Dame.
Which, as a Blazers fan that watched this man for over a decade,
I'm not mad at
completely
this.
adds up. In the end, Dame
finished
finished with an average similarity score of 82.71% across all 10 categories, finishing just ahead of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. All names that make sense, but for
it's crazy the fact that
reasons.
Kevin Durant is so close though, with that nigga being like 6'11".
Although there is truly
Kevin
no
Durant
one like Steph in the NBA,
it's my Kobe and Kevin Durant are my favorite players. Steph is up there as well, you feel me? But Kevin Durant is one of them niggas that like can't be fucked with. I don't give a fuck who you can say Michael Jordan. I love Kobe. You can say Kobe. You can say LeBron. Can't nobody fuck with Kevin Durant, bro. That nigga's not real. Like no bullshit. The only nigga that like could potentially come close, and we'll have to see, is Wembanyama because of his height and the way he can hoop. Like everybody I named can hoop, but they not 6'11", 7 foot doing it. Other than Wembanyama, and we're gonna have to see how it play out. Jokic is like, he's nice, but he don't move like Durant. Durant is him. I don't give a fuck how you feel about Durant. He's him.
Past and present.
That's what I want to see.
I
need you to make a vid, but Kevin Durant. Who's the closest player to Kevin Durant? And Wembanyama, he's new, so it probably won't be him. So I'm curious to see.
Closest you're gonna get on the stat sheet, the eye test, and in skill set. And if we look at the results from this experiment, you can really get a full scope of all of these similarities, especially in gravity, passing, usage and creation, and shooting.
It's crazy because this nigga back on the
categories
Blazers.
he didn't score well in were dominance and playstyle, which makes sense. As great as Dame is, the peaks of Steph's career have been about as high as any player in NBA history. Steph has a sizable gap on everyone in the player pool in this department outside of Chris Paul, Harden, Durant, and Luka. And in terms of playstyle, Dame works in isolation much more than Steph does. Some of this can be attributed to Dame's superior athleticism. You'll never see Steph competing in a dunk contest, but as his career has progressed and his explosiveness has declined, their games have become more similar with time. Lillard now less reliant on his athleticism as his skill set has gotten deeper.
I hope this nigga can recover, man.
Dame also prefers to initiate offense through pick and rolls as opposed to Steph, who will initiate the offense but works
if
more
I'm
off the ball
correct,
during
Dame don't got a ring, but he's a nigga that deserves one. So hopefully he can come back and get him a ring before, you feel me, he retire.
Actions to get open for a shot later.
I hope Westbrook get one too. I feel like Westbrook
bring out
deserves
the
one.
biggest differences visibly when you watch them play. But outside of these few differences, their games are strikingly similar in comparison to other players around the league. When I saw the results of this experiment, I couldn't help but to think of one moment during the 2021 All-Star game, when Steph and Dame were going back and forth trading shots from half court. If there is one man who can go blow for blow with the greatest shooter of all time from 40 feet out, it's Damian Lillard. A player who hits so many clutch bombs, he has a celebration for it.
Straight
and
up.
although one of Steph's superpowers is his off-ball brilliance, a clearer look into their similarities comes in moments when Steph really leans into his abilities to take players off the dribble and create his own shots. The key to their similarities being that they are both two of the greatest shooters of all time, but they aren't just shooters. They're offensive machines. Where most players who are capable of shooting at an ultra-elite level tend to neglect alternative scoring opportunities, Steph and Dame, although both being relatively undersized, are incredible at getting inside, collapsing defenses, and scoring around the rim, as well as creating open looks for their teammates. Very rarely do you get a player who is just as efficient and willing to score from inside 6 feet as he is from 26 feet. And almost never do you see a player that can do both at historic levels. I do think over the years, Steph has essentially market-corrected Lillard. Everything Dame can do outside of maybe ISO, Steph can do better. For years, I watched defenses break their brains trying to figure out how to stop a guy with a hair trigger and 35 feet of range. And I couldn't help but to notice there's only one other guy in the league that was capable of the same thing. Now, here are the full results from this experiment. With the
and like he just said, I feel like Steph can do everything better. I feel like that's why Steph has his rings and Dame don't. That also, to be fair, Dame didn't have a great supporting cast. I feel like Dame could have won a ring if he had somebody else. And he did get Giannis later on, or more recent, I should say. But it's just, I feel like he was already. It's been too long. He should have had somebody sooner in his career to help him, to help get that ring. You feel me? I think then he played with LaMarcus Aldridge. I think he had some good teammates along the line, but he didn't have no superstars, like Giannis. You feel me? And it didn't work out with them niggas. But hopefully he can get somebody. I don't know.
Players involved condensed to the 55 with the highest scores. And there's a few interesting things going on.
I know he went to Portland. It would have been nice if that nigga could have went to like the Dallas, which I know they already don't really. They got Kyrie. They got Anthony Davis. I know they got Cooper Flag now. But man, if he could have went to like Dallas or somewhere, it would have been nice.
Maybe played the two guards from the same era as Steph. Lillard, Harden,
got him
and
a
Kyrie,
ring.
all products of their era, playing a similar brand of basketball throughout their careers, even over younger players who shaped their game around Steph's. Kevin Durant,
you know what?
7-foot small forward.
Maybe he could have went to like Boston. That low key would have been decent. Him, Brown, and Tatum. That low key, cause they got Drew and they got Derek White. I know on paper, money wise, it wouldn't have made sense, but shit, at his point, do you want to get paid or do you want to win? You feel me? I'm just thinking the teams he could win to that potentially can win some.
Ford finished in 4th, the only 7-footer in the history of basketball that you could legitimately commit who shaped their game around Steph's. Kevin Durant, a 7-foot small forward, finished in 4th.
Fucking
the only
Kevin Durant a
7-footer
goat.
in the
I don't give
history
a
of
fuck,
basketball
man.
that you could legitimately compare
That
to
nigga's
Stephen
different.
Curry. But some surprising names that finished high were Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel Quickley, and Desmond Bane, who all finished in the top 10 while sharing different things in common with Steph. I also want to point out that Seth Curry, the man's own brother, finished in 42nd. Among the younger guys in the league, it was Tyrese Halliburton.
But
who
to
had
be
the
fair,
most in
Steph
common.
Curry is more like a catch and shoot, like, you feel me, like a Ray Allen type. He ain't really, like, you feel me, he ain't doing that to niggas. Steph, but that nigga a shooter though. He like a top, you feel me, he can shoot, but he don't play like Steph. But he definitely can shoot the ball though.
With Steph.
He like more like a Klay Thompson, like, cause but just smaller. Cause Klay Thompson's more of like a catch and shoot. He can dribble some, you feel me, but he more a catch and shoot. Steph is kind of that same way.
Finishing in 5th, followed by LaMelo Ball, Cade Cunningham, and Anthony Edwards. For the most part, it is the highly
let me say
skilled
this
and
too.
versatile perimeter players that
I know some niggas might be like under the comments. I don't sit and watch basketball all day. I haven't watched like the league consistently probably ever, but I've seen enough of niggas to know what I'm talking about. You feel me? And I have my own opinions and see. I seen what I see, nigga.
have the most in common with Steph, even if aesthetically they don't necessarily look similar on the court. Players who are great shooters, create a lot of offense, have high gravity both on and off the ball, are about average defensively, and are
Emmanuel
freak
Quickley
athletes.
kinda,
Regardless of the way it looks,
interesting.
there are many parallels
And
in the
Desmond
games of the
Bane.
most elite guards around the league, and Kevin Durant. And it's their ability
Okay,
that
Kevin
lead them to a
Durant.
style of play that is similar to Steph's in one way or another. So, there you have it. In case you were wondering who exactly is the most similar player to Steph Curry, the answer is Damian Lillard. But let me know what you think. Was the method used to determine our outcome effective, or are there other metrics out there that could lead us to a more accurate
Look at
conclusion?
the comments
Let me
real
know your
quick.
thoughts in the comments below. And as always, until next time.
Hands down, damn.
So I was scrolling through my Instagram.
Hey man, that was a good video. I'm not surprised. I was kind of seeing it like throughout the data. Plus, just knowing players in the NBA, I'm not mad at that. That Dame is like the closest to Steph. I could definitely see it.
Quick, off the top of your head, of all the active players currently in the
I could definitely see it. They got their own play styles, like he said, but still, at how that everybody in the league, I can see Dame, especially because they you know, size, they just play similar. You feel me? Not similar, but he's the closest thing to a Steph Curry. You feel me? But he still has his own playing type. He's Dame. Gotta put respect on the nigga. He's Damian Lillard. You feel me? He's him. So that was a great vid right there, man. I'm finna hit the hay. It's 1 a.m. I gotta be up in like 5 hours. So yeah, I'm gonna drop this motherfucker tomorrow. We gonna start uploading again. So make sure y'all niggas stay tuned. That's how I'll be trucking and shit. I'm gonna try to get me something when I'm coming home every day though. Hopefully soon. But for now, this just setup. We gonna make it work. Make sure y'all niggas like, comment, subscribe, and hey, we gonna keep this shit going, nigga. We ain't stopping, niggas. When there's a will, there's a way. Remember this, y'all niggas. If you want something, you want to do something, you gonna find a way to just keep going. You might have to take a step back from it for a little bit and work and figure out something, but just keep going. Don't ever stop, because you just never know.